Hello again, I'm Marcus Jackman. I'm the pastor of Copper Hills Church in Harriman, Utah. This is Gleanings, feasting on the Word of God in the margins of everyday life. It is Tuesday, so that means it is Muse Day. We take our inspiration from the world of the creative arts, and we're going to use the 3rd of May, 1808, a painting by Goya. I think in 1814, 1815 is when he painted it. But we're going to use it as it connects to part of the imagery that we see in the scriptures regarding Holy Week. In the 3rd of May, 1808, this is a portrayal of Spanish resistance to Napoleon's army invading that peninsula. And we remember, again, considering those words, to pray for Ukraine and the Ukrainian people, to pray against the Russian invasion. This scene captures the stark brutality and injustice, the dark mob of soldiers there on the right, the desperation of the victims, and the isolation and fear of a night arrest on the streets and execution. Now, the arrest of Jesus ought to have been, humanly speaking, ought to have been like that. It ought to have been scary, but it did not trouble Jesus because the Son has authority. He faced it with calm. So let's read the account from Mark chapter 14. And they went to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples, "Sit here while I pray." And he took with him Peter and James and John, and began to be greatly distressed and troubled. And he said to them, "My soul is very sorrowful, even to death. Remain here and watch." And going a little farther, he fell on the ground and prayed that, if it were possible, the hour might pass from him. And he said, "Abba, Father, all things are possible for you. Remove this cup from me, yet not what I will, but what you will." And he came and found them sleeping, and he said to Peter, "Simon, are you asleep? Could you not watch 1 hour? Watch and pray that you may not enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." And again he went away and prayed, saying the same words. And again he came and found them sleeping, for their eyes were very heavy, and they did not know what to answer him. And he came the 3rd time and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and taking your rest? It is enough. The hour has come. The Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand." And immediately, while he was still speaking, Judas came, one of the 12, and with him a crowd with swords and clubs from the chief priests and the scribes and the elders. Now the betrayer had given them a sign, saying, "The one I will kiss is the man. Seize him and lead him away under guard." And when he came, he went up to him at once and said, "Rabbi," and he kissed him. And they laid hands on him and seized him. But one of those who stood by drew his sword and struck the servant of the high priest and cut off his ear. And Jesus said to them, "Have you come out as against a robber, with swords and clubs to capture me? Day after day I was with you in the temple teaching, and you did not seize me. But let the scriptures be fulfilled." And they all left him and fled. And a young man followed him with nothing but a linen cloth about his body. And they seized him, but he left the linen cloth and ran away naked. Now, it would seem to us in our flesh, in our humanity, looking at Jesus, it seemed like now would be a good time to do another one of those disappear into the crowd moments, right, where he has avoided capture earlier in his ministry. But he has surrendered. He has surrendered to the will of the Father. And he knows, after that wrestling match in that prayer, he knows his authority. He knows who he is. He knows his power, and he's not intimidated. When the crowd comes, that would feel more intimidating to you and to me, but that doesn't intimidate Jesus at all. He almost sounds exasperated, saying, "Oh, now you're going to come for me? Now you're going to come to me?" It is Jesus, however, who decides when things progress. It's not the crowd, it's not the priests, it's not the scribes, it's not the Pharisees, it's not the mob. He's not troubled by them. When he says, "Let us go, rise, the hour has come," Jesus is in control. He understands his authority. He said, let the scriptures be fulfilled. When Jesus is troubled is when he's wrestling out the Father's will and surrendering to that. He's not troubled by the appearance of opposition in the world. The main issue for him is this great work that's before him. but he surrenders and agrees and entrusts his heart and his life, his physical life, to the plan of the Father for the redemption of all of his people. He's not troubled looking at the crowd and the fearfulness, as would be normal for you and for me. That would be the troubling moment for us, to see the crowd come to a rest. That's not troubling to Jesus. So God's plan may look like suffering and agony for Jesus in the next step, but the result will be life and glory for him and for all those who trust in him. Where in my life am I struggling to surrender to God's plan, and why? Well, the why is a very easy question. I struggle when it looks like pain, when it's going to hurt, when it looks scary, right? God's plan may look like loss, rejection, pain, sorrow for you, and those are real. Those are real costs. And that's not something that we need to imagine don't hurt. That's not something we need to imagine don't count for us, right? But the end of the story, the goal of the story, is for Jesus to be glorified in your life and in mine. And Jesus is still in charge. That authority that he exerts, that he shows when he says, "Rise, let us go. Here comes my betrayer. The hour has come. Let the scriptures be fulfilled." Jesus is operating in the full authority of the Son of God, eyes wide open, heading toward his execution, his unjust trial and execution. Are we faithful enough to pray through our temptations? Sometimes yes. Oftentimes not. Are we faithful to seek his face and to surrender to his will? Sometimes yes, but oftentimes not. The good news for you and for me today is that Jesus is the faithful one. We are not steadfast in the face of soldiers and opposition that we can see, but he is, and he has authority. He's in charge. He's winning history right now. He's ruling over all things, and he is yours. So you need not be afraid. You need not be dismayed. You can rest in the Son's authority, and you can surrender with peace to the Father's will. Bless you today.